I became aware of my clairvoyance at the age of 14 through a near-death experience. Off and on for 6 years, I just came to a point where I began to hear, feel, and see. I had a second near-death experience at 41 in a head-on collision, and in that experience, all I can remember is rising above my body into a vibrant green light, and when the two cars hit, I never felt anything. I wasn't present. It was as if I was hovering above my body. I could see myself very clearly. I could see myself three-dimensionally. My consciousness was floating above my body. The thinking part of me was up here. This down here just felt like a shell. But it was my shell. But I did have an encounter. In that encounter with a fella who came to me and introduced himself as Ben. He said that he had come to be with me in this moment so that I would not have to have the experience alone, and told me that the only thing that I needed to know moving forward from this experience is that I did not have anything to worry about, because I was hurt. I was hurt, and I was trapped in the car for 45 minutes. But he had the most beautiful eyes I've ever seen, and was very gentle. He called me by name from the first meeting. He spoke very softly and very gently. As soon as he touched me, I completely went limp. But then as he stepped back from the car, he said, "I have to go now," and smiled and vanished in thin air. And I knew I had literally been touched by an angel. I had a woman come to me at a psychic fair, and when she approached my table, she looked as if she had been emotionally beaten. She looked very distraught. She looked very tired, very worn down. When she sat down in front of me, I instantly felt the presence of her mother and father come in on my right. I felt the presence of her daughter and her husband come in on my left. So I told her, "Ma'am, I feel your mother and father on my right in spirit, and I feel your daughter and your husband file in spirit on my left." And she says to me, "My husband just died 2 weeks ago." Well, as soon as she said that, I hear him say to me very emphatically, tell her, I heard her the last 4 days of my life." So I said, "Ma'am, your husband wants you to know very emphatically that he heard you the last 4 days of his life." And my client just burst into tears, and she said, "My husband was in a coma the last 4 days of his life, and boy, did I do a lot of talking. I forgave for everything that needed forgiven. I asked forgiveness for everything that needed to be forgiven. And I told my husband that I loved him. Until this moment, I didn't know he hurt me." And I literally watched 50 pounds of weight come off my client's shoulders. She lit up. She released all of that struggle. All of that guilt and worry was just gone instantly. I have seen a tremendous increase in the last 2 years, but I noticed the increase probably about 5 to 8 years ago begin. People are awakening and seeing more, and especially in children who are being born today. They're being born much more perceptive, much more psychic, much more clairvoyant, much more empathic than they've ever been before. My belief, my hope, is that it is to improve the circumstances on the earth plane, to bring us back to love, so that we can better help one another.